So when you look at hey y'all, what's going on? This is your man Sabir Alim. What's happening? What's popping? Well, as always, you know I can tell you what's dropping. Yeah. We want to have some conversation today about expectations. Yeah, and how expectations often rob us of the ability to have productive, loving, caring, fruitful lives. Yeah, a lot of people don't look at these things as a necessity. A lot of people don't look at life, period. A lot of times people are just looking at things from the moment. And it's good to be in the moment when it comes to uh, personal growth being today. This is the day. This is what's happening right now. But most of us don't function in that capacity. Most of us function in the capacity of what was. Yeah. What was. Not what is, what was. So you have to understand that childhood exists today, no matter how old you are, no matter how much life has improved and how many things that you've achieved in life, it's always about childhood. So there's the conscious, the unconscious, and the subconscious. So what resides mostly today is within your unconscious. The things that you don't address, the things that you don't confront, the things that you continue to avoid, the things that you continue to sidestep that actually dictate your life in the conscious form. So consciously are things that you have made the foundation of living. This is what I know about myself. This is how I act towards situations that present themselves based off of what I have determined to be my own reality, and not seeing the fault with what you have perceived as reality and what it does to your life right now. Yeah, I know that became real technical and I kind of dug deep on that one. But you have to. You have to dig deep when it comes to confronting yourself, when it comes to making a better life for yourself. You have to look at yourself and what parts of yourself that you do know, right? Because there's the known self, things that you do know. This is what I do know about myself. I was raised in a single parent home. I spent a lot of time by myself. I spent a lot of time with this magical, mystical, often mythical thinking. Because as children, that's what we do. We begin to paint a picture of life. We haven't lived but so long, but we have this ideal way, which is the instinct. We have this idea way, which is what we believe within ourselves, what we have already determined that this is what's supposed to be. And we live, in most instances, the idea of life because we really don't know what ideal looks like. We don't. What does a 5-year-old know about an ideal way of life? They have nothing to grasp onto. They have nothing to grab and say, this is it. They don't know about the consequences of thinking. They don't know about the consequence of thinking. You don't learn about consequence until you have someone, a caretaker, who begins to shape and form life for us. Somebody begins to tell us right and wrong, good and bad, yes and no. And from an unlearned, unstructured perspective with an idea way of living, that's dangerous because when you say this is no for me, but it's yes for you, it's confusing because now it's a matter of adult behavior, child behavior, and who's right and who's wrong. You see how confusing all of this already is in my stating it? Because the question becomes from you is, well, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. You're right. It doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to make sense. You're supposed to make sense out of it based off of ideal and idea. One has an L, one is without the L. Ideal are things that we have found to be successful, tangible, evident. I can put my hand on it. Yeah. I know that if I put my hand into that fire, it will burn. I know that. So that is not ideal. But why would you think to try it? You see the flames. You see the iron glowing. Why would you think it's okay to put your hand on it? You want to try to see? You see it. You feel the heat. But for some reason, you still want to just touch it. You thought it'd be a good idea to try to put your hand in that fire. Why would a person think, looking at this, that it would not hurt them? Why would a person think that? Why would a person think that I'm going to put my hand in there anyway? I'm going to stick my hand in that fire, knowing, but you don't know. Somebody told you. You feel all the descriptions that I gave you, but you still put your hand in it. You come away from that with burns. You inch your way towards it. Some just stick their hand in to see if I can probably avoid it. If I put it in real fast, I won't get burned. And you'll sit here right now and think, well, who the hell would do that? That just doesn't make sense. But we do it every day. We do it every day in so many capacities of our lives. We do it anyway. We know what the outcome is going to be. But for some reason, we've convinced ourselves that doing it, we may be able to avoid the pain, the suffering, the difficulty that everybody else, right, experience. But then there's some who won't even try. They won't put forth any kind of effort. They said to be like, nah, I ain't putting my hand in that. So I'm using fire as an example. That's the extreme side. The other extreme side is I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to do it. I already know. Now, if you use that analogy, the extreme side is putting my hand in the fire because I don't believe I'm going to experience the same outcome, the same consequence as the other person. This side over here is I already saw what happened when somebody did it. But when you're faced with having to go into the fire, because this time it's somebody else who's in it, you need to save a life. You need to save a life. The house is burning. There's someone in the house. There's someone who you dearly love in that house. The person all the way on this side is going in. The person all the way on that side said, no, I'm not. But now you're in the middle. But you can't go into the middle because you have been on either side and going here in the middle where you have to go save that person. You love that person. Your most loved family member is in that house. Your most loved family member is in that house. What you gonna do? You gonna stand there and just watch it burn, watch them burn, when there's a possibility that you can go into that house and save that person? It's a good chance. But within you, it's a good chance that I'll go in there and die too. I'll go in there, I'll die with them. Sorry, but I can't help. I don't want to die. But the reality is we are going to die. And we can't pick and choose when. Well, some do choose when because of fear of something else, another fear that they're either all the way over here or all the way over there, but not doing anything poses you with another consequence. But it's somebody in there who I really don't care about. I don't like them. I don't even care about them. Go ahead. They can die. It's not on me. It's not on me. It's not going to affect me. I don't even like the person. I left my water over there. I'll go grab it in a minute. That's what life presents us with every single day. Throughout the course of our day, we have to make a decision about a thing. People around us expect for us to make decisions about a thing. We're making that decision based off of our own idealistic way of living. Off of our id, our ego, and our superego. The id being that which is innate, which is instinct. The ego being the balance. It balances our superego with our id. And if you look at the things that we're conscious of, that's more of our id. That's our consciousness. That's the innate things. That's the instinctual things. That's the animalistic tendencies that we have, according to Sigmund Freud. The ego is that part of self that is pretty much conditioned by what is transpired in life. That's the unconscious. Then there's the superego, which is your morality. That's the subconscious. That's the ongoing battle inside of yourself. People often use the term somebody's being egotistical. That means they're acting without regard of others. They're being cocky and arrogant. And according to Sigmund Freud, that's not what the ego is. In that sense, that's the id. It's just acting on instinct. It's just acting on doing what it wants to do. But we won't have that conversation today. It's just a point of reference. But if you want to learn more about your id, ego, and superego, and the role that it plays and why you do what you do, right, go ahead to the Suburban Educational Station on YouTube, and I think I did probably several videos on the id, the ego, and the superego. But there's parts of self, consciously, unconsciously, and subconsciously, that present in circumstances. And a lot of times we're not even aware that it took place. But when you begin to look at the expectations of what you do in the situation, and you're all the way on that end, or you're all the way on that end, and you get stuck, that's what life presents us with every single day. Then we have to layer onto that what others want from us, because others place expectations upon us. So we place expectations upon ourselves. We place expectations upon other people, whether we're directly connected to those other people or not. It doesn't matter. Every person that we encounter, we are encountering them with a set of expectations, a set of rules to say. If I come to you and talk to you and I'm not raising my voice at you, what is your expectation? That you're not raising your voice at me. If I use profanity when having a conversation with you and you're not a person who uses profanity, how do you react to that? The expectation is that the other person doesn't use it either. And situations turn. They turn. They quickly go down a rabbit hole if the expectations of either is not met. But you make it okay when you react in a way that the other person doesn't expect for you to be acting toward them. You see what the problem is here? When you hold on to a set of expectations that you put upon other people, and you hold that near and dear to your heart, that there's no adjustments that can be made because you have this can't stand itises, the should itises, the must itises, and we call those cognitive distortions. They're cognitive distortions. People must act the way you expect them to act. And when they don't act that way, you react in a manner that they don't expect for you to act because they have an expectation upon you as well. That you, who you? Wait a minute, hold up. I'm not going to allow you to speak to me in that manner. Now, when a person doesn't know you, they've never interacted with you before, and they act in that manner, should they have an opportunity to correct that behavior because they don't know you? Should they be afforded the opportunity to be heard? What did they feel when you? So if you're trying to bring resolve to a situation, so when you raise your voice at me, I feel threatened. Now, I don't have to go into the whole, childhood experience of being yelled at or being treated in a particular manner. Just tell me how I made you feel. Now, you're not responsible for how I felt in totality, but there's a position that you have taken within that feeling that I have to speak to, because if not, it's going to be triggered again. Oh, it's going to happen again, because whatever I showed you then resides within me. The likelihood of the frequency being on like this is a regular occurrence will begin to change over time. Hey, listen. My bad, I'm sorry. It's just, right? But what we have to understand here is that expectations rob us of so much. We're often not allowing people to be themselves. The one all the way over here or the one all the way over here. There has to be a middle place found. Because some people will always be in your presence. You will always have to encounter this behavior, this attitude, this belief, this value. You will always have to encounter it. Once this person goes, there's another one coming. You can't say, well, good, that person is gone, so life is great now because that person is gone. Well, you're going to find that person in Walmart. You're going to find that person at the gas station in line. You're going to find that person again at the workplace. You're going to find that person again and again and again and again and again. At what point in time do you bring resolve within yourself? At what point in time do you get the shovel and you dig from the id down through the ego into the super ego and find your morality so you can deal with this situation differently? Because resentments are like pissing on yourself. Don't nobody feel it but you. You're the only one walking around with a wedgie. You're the only one walking around with this attitude, and that other person is just moving on with life all hunky-dory. And you get all this pent-up frustration, right, which interferes with forward progress, which interferes with being effective in what task we may have at hand to address. So you're the problem. Yeah, that you didn't like that one, did you? That didn't feel real good. You are the problem, not that other person. Because you have unrealistic expectations upon another person. You have that expectation of them. And you form dissension between the two of you because of your perception, because of your unrealistic expectations, because of your biases, because of your prejudices, and so on and so forth. That problem is you. You have to learn how to confront you and stop confronting everybody else. That's what you have to do. If you don't like the show, you scroll to something else. Isn't it simple to do that? I don't like that show. Scroll to something else. The show is the only one that's on. I guess I'll watch it. And then in watching it, because now it's the only show on TV. You know how it used to be, like after the 11 o'clock news went off and the late night show, David Susskind or whoever was on, I know I'm dating myself, right? Whoever was on, after that show, what did we get? The Star Spangled Banner, right? You get the flag that comes on and TV is off, right? That's how it used to be. Now you have 999,000 channels. You can always find something. But my point is, when it's over, it's over. Let it go. Why don't you want to let it go? So you're expecting for that person to change, right? To adhere to that belief within you, to absorb your morality, to take on your morality. Isn't that part of what goes on in this world every day? Is why we have so many conflicts and confrontations with one another? Because you think that I should act, talk, do things in the way you want me to in order for you to be okay with living in this life. No, that's not how life goes. Not even close. Not even close. Somebody had posted on social media earlier today. I was looking at it, and it was a post about a Black community living in the 60s and how embedded the concept of a village and how people then took ownership for a role in the community. So, like, for instance, when I came up, there was always a Miss Mary. There still is a Miss Mary on every block in every community, regardless of race. But this is specific. This is specific to the Black community in the 60s. I'm a 60s baby. There was always a neighbor. And not only one, but there was always a neighbor who kept an eye on the block. They sit on their porch, swinging. They sit on their little stoop, sit up in the window all day, every day. But this wasn't because of boredom. This wasn't because they ain't had nothing else to do. What they had to do was what they were doing. Keeping the eye on the community. Hey, boy, stop doing that. What's wrong with you? I'm going to tell your mother, and your mother will be told. Your mother would be told. Your mother could be told in the 60s. Your mother could be told in the 70s. Your mother could be told in the early 80s. But we know everything changed when powder cocaine showed up and crack cocaine showed up in the 80s. We know that's why it changed. We know it's the reason for change because it changed our community. Because everybody who didn't have any money, who was about to hustle, started hustling. And it zombified many communities. Oh, not just the Black communities. It started in South Central LA and found its way all the way to Europe. Yeah, wreaked havoc in a very short period of time. And it's like, and I also always brought up, you know, throughout the years, if you watch my shows, I've always brought up how we used to have dinner at grandma's house every Sunday. Every Sunday, we were going to grandma's house to have dinner. Grandma passed, nobody picked the torch up and said, hey, we're going to continue to do this at our house. Somebody still living in grandma's house. We still gather here. What happened? Because in the 60s, we were more of a community focused group of people. We had different sets of ideas and ideals, but the focus was on ideal way of living. Watch the kids. We leave out the house on Saturday morning after we did our chores, and we'd be in and out of the house, back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Nobody had to worry about whether we got snatched. Somebody knew that somebody was going to find you and see you. They're going to see you and they're going to bring you to the house, right? We had neighbors who sat out on the steps to talk to the kids. Sometimes we'd tell them, you know, stories, right? Sometimes we'd just hold them hostage with, you know, their conversation on behavior change. Like, yo, you got to stop doing it. Don't, you know, we always had, you know, the one or two, you know, junkies, alcoholics, you know, who come strolling through, and the kids will always tease and laugh at, but they will always respect it. They may have been laughed at, they may have been ridiculed, but they were respected as part of the community. Now everybody is just splintered. Why? Why did change in that? Everybody wasn't on cocaine. Everybody wasn't smoking crack. Why did it change? I'm a 60s baby, so I grew up in that. So when I began to have these conversations about, yo, this is what we're supposed to do. Everybody used to just sit on the step for that very reason, to keep an eye on the community. We didn't need police. We policed ourselves. We policed our own communities. The only reason we would need police if there was some incident. So when we look at cruise ships and we look at what's happening on cruise ships, and we look at the behaviors on cruise ships, and we look at the behaviors on airlines, and we look at the behaviors towards law enforcement, we look at all these things that happen in our society, they have to do with expectations. They have to do with expectations. There are groups that are formed that that's all they focus on, is going out and imposing their expectations upon others. And when they find like-minded people who join into that, not understanding that they're joining in on a narrative that somebody else has chosen to ride on, and they know it's pulling on your heartstrings too. And you go out there and you're bringing to fruition a person's narrative. And that narrative trickles into your household. And that narrative begins to divide your household. And you have to ask yourself why. We live in a society of pick a side. Why? Why do I have to pick a side? Yeah, that's the world we live in. Pick a side. Left, right, Republican, Democrat, race, pick a side. Nationalists, pick a side. Hate groups, pick a side. That's you know, religion, pick a side. Shiite, Sunni, pick a side. Liberal, conservative, pick a side. That's the society we live in. Listen, why do I have to pick a side? Whatever issue from whatever side presents for me is what I address, is what I deal with. It's what I confront. I confront the problem. Is that to say that only one side has a solution to the problem? Even if I feel like I am the solution, the other person doesn't feel that way. No, I am the solution. You're right. We both have a solution. Let's fix this then. We both have solutions. Where's the commonality in here? Where is it? It got me a little timer here. Got me an hourglass because I'll be on the road. So I'm trying to be more structured in my time frame. So and I've turned a hour show into a 2 hour show because I start feeling it. Yeah, I start feeling it. I get into the subject matter. And I'm more controlled when I'm doing lectures and workshops and things like that. But, sometimes when I'm doing, my shows, I get a little behind it because I try to accommodate people who don't know what's on, don't know about it, as opposed to just staying with this structure of the show. So I'm working on that. So we have to begin to look at ourselves first and foremost, because it's really our responses, our reactions that make a difference in what direction something can go. Yeah, it makes a difference. This is one of the other things that has also impacted marriages, relationships with coworkers, relationships with store owners, relationships with the government, relationships with our children, relationships, because of our expectations. Our expectations. Yeah, there's things that we all hate. What does hate do for your spirit, your mentality? Like I've watched shows and and I see things in feed and I see all this like I don't like him, like I can't stand him, I really don't like him. How do like I don't get that part. I really don't. If there's something about you that I dislike, like not the person, like not what they do. I know I'm far from being perfect. I'm saying that I am more solution oriented in myself. Therefore, to exert so much energy into disliking another person, thing, whatever, I just you just turn the page. Even if I have to see you every day, I just keep turning the page. There's not every page with you is not a bad page. One of those days, as I'm turning the page because of a behavior that I'm disliking, I'm going to find something in you that we're going to have common perceptions on. Be like, yo, okay. That should be the focal point. But if you within yourself have 10 great things that somebody tells you, you look for that one thing. 10 great things is one bad thing that you did that just didn't. You made it bad. It's destructive. But I just told you 9 things that were favorable. You riding on the one. Why are you riding on the one? It's because I'm black. What? Yeah, that's what it is. Where did you get that from? Because I know that's what it is. Because of an expectation, right, that you have put upon someone who doesn't look like you. Because of an experience you had with somebody else who didn't look like you. Or because of what you saw on social media. Or because what somebody groomed you to believe. Where's the reality there? Is it the other person? Because now they're reacting to your claims upon them? So see, I told you, that's what y'all do. or with your spouse. Yeah, that's what men do. That's what women do. What did I do that triggered you to respond to me in that way? Because what often happens is, and here's one of my favorite quotes, sayings, slogans, whatever you want to call it, that I used to give in my classes. When in conflict, make every situation a teach you about me moment instead of a tell you about you moment. I'm going to run that back to you again for those in the front row who may not have heard it. When in conflict, make every situation a teach you about me moment instead of a tell you about you moment. See, it's easy to tell somebody they did this, and you know, and how much you don't appreciate it and don't like it. But if you take that response and make it a moment of, when you did this, when you said this, I felt, and define an emotion. Because a lot of times, because we have expectations of people who we form relationships with, they don't have this, they're not reciprocative in that. Don't necessarily, they don't think that you feel that way about them. They don't think that, yo, you really like think we cool and like we are right and all that, because you didn't show it. You didn't show what they expected for you to show, to say, hey, we good. We can have this kind of conversation. They don't know that. You never showed that. You were always acting so guarded. So guarded. So I didn't know you felt that way about me. You put an expectation upon me that, because I thought that we were cool. When you said this to me, I felt hurt. And that's the hard. It's really hard to do that and say, I was hurt by what you just said. Well, why were you hurt? Well, I just thought that we had a different kind of relationship. Because I can tell you, like, I don't like being accused of things that I don't do. Right? Nobody does. But I'm saying I'm the most loyal person you will ever meet in life. I'm telling you that. I'm the most loyal person who you will ever meet in your life. But I will cut you off at the knees with the quickness. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'll get my facts. I'm very observant of people's behaviors. Listen, I watch everything about a person. I watch how you drive up in your car. I listen. What are you listening to? What's the volume? You just drove up to the building. You come into work. I'm in the parking lot. Oh, yeah. Anybody that knows me, I observe every behavior. Right? Because we have representatives that show up. And eventually a representative leaves. Who are you left with? We all, in some degree, feel the need to protect ourselves, to protect our integrity, to protect, our position, our social status in life and things like that. I've always been taught, here's the professional. I've been in a professional capacity for so long in my life. It's conditioning. Because I also understand that what I do in society as a whole does affect my formed view in the workplace. So when I did a show on like how to lose your job on social media, like people think because they're not at work that they can just go out in the street and act foolish and do everything and record it and put it on, and it doesn't affect your job. It does. It does. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. People form views. People form perceptions. People have expectations of you working for them, especially if you're in the front. Their expectations. That's the reality, folks. I keep a hot mic. I keep a hot mic somewhere. either through this venue, through what I post on social media, through music, my books that I authored, anything that you do, anything you do. Now, there's also the letter of the law when it comes to, accusations and things, letting you deal with those things then. But stop riding on that, because that's shallow. That's shallow. I always want to present myself authentically. Authentically. It's important that you talk about expectations that you have of one another before you enter into this relationship. You be forthright with some things. You have to do that, man. For those of you who don't know, I'm in a new studio space. I moved from upstairs in the lab. We still have the lab upstairs, but I moved downstairs into another area because I'll be doing more stuff for Aline for you downstairs, like live shows and showing you the merchandise that we have in our online stores. We're getting ready to start the pop-up shops where we'll be out, different places, different events, selling, our merchandise and things of that nature. So I moved down to a more spacious area. Some of my original artwork behind me, that's a print of the original artwork. But yeah, so I'm getting used to this table. Every time I touch the table is rocking. So, and I'm one of those people like that's going to irritate the hell out of me if it keeps doing that. So I got to keep my arms off the table. I got to set up the camera on something else because I'm always touching the table. So it's like really irritating me. Again, that's part of who I am. I like things structured. I'm pretty anal when doing things. I'm pretty structured in how I like things. I'll keep looking at this picture and making sure it's lined up like here, like the space is properly spaced, that it's not crooked. Understanding that the ceiling is not always flat, so you gotta, but if it's straight, you got to go from the floor up, go from the top down. It's a whole lot of stuff, but so when I understand those kind of things about myself, and I expect others to be the same way, that's a problem. It's a problem for me because it interrupts that relationship. It's a matter of allowing that person to be in their comfort zone, but making sure that you're operating within the parameters of policy and procedure, if that makes sense. Yeah. And that's what we run into in society, where people have policy and procedure, right? But then people put practice into place and it becomes practice. But when someone wants to flex a little bit, or they're feeling in one of their crappy moods, right, they decide that they want to use policy and procedure and deviate from practice. You understand? So it's like today, the guard will let you just go ahead and go through it. He knows you live here. He knows you in a different, vehicle, so instead of coming through the side where you have to go through the whole procedure, you want to go through on the resident side and just, pull up and wave, and you want to make sure you get his attention, like, yo, so he can go ahead and push the button and let you in, right? It's me. I mean, how many people look like me, right? You know what car I'm driving, right? So I got to keep coming on that side, getting in this long line and waiting when you see me right here, yo, and then trying to get their attention when they're attending to their job. This is where I'm supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be pushing the button and allowing this, that, and the other for that reason. If somebody's stuck, or police and fire or emergency rescue, something like that, come up, then I'll do that. But because you decide you want to rent a car this week, or you have whatever your reason is. I ain't got nothing to do with that, but you make that reason my reason for having to deviate from my job. So it's been practiced that I do this. So now I don't do it today. Now you mad. I don't have to do it. So now it's an argument. Now you're in your feelings. Now our relationship is damaged. It's stained. Why? So like I changed my vehicles, right? I have to go to the bank and get a money order and whatnot, but it ain't been on my agenda to be of that significance. So I just go over there, hey, and I show my ID, right? Because first of all, it's his job to check IDs, no matter how many times he's seen me. What is the procedure? The procedure is when an individual comes up, they need to show you their ID. You need to check their ID. You need to check the system to ensure they are who they say they are. Something can come up, a red flag can come up. Yo, this person, no, they no longer live here. They can't come here. He still needs to check that every day, right? So in the days when he'd be like, all right, man, go ahead. Like, I just go ahead. I don't come back later on to come back the next day and feel like he should. Because he could lose his job. You understand? But when we get in a situation where there's a practice between ourselves and another person to do things in a particular way, and they don't do it, and we get angry, we want to blame them. Oh, but that you did that yesterday, and we do the same thing in relationships. Why are you getting funny? I'm not getting funny. We've been having this conversation, right? I keep asking you to stop raising your voice at me. I keep asking you to stop cursing at me. I keep asking you to not engage me in this manner. You keep doing it. Why do you keep doing it, man? I keep asking you not to. Right? And then the person begins to realize their own stuff if they are seeking to fix this. But don't expect for it to happen. That doesn't mean you don't say anything about it. But you have to know what is the policy? What is the procedure? So if we're not in the workplace, how do we deal with it in the church, in the synagogue, the masjid? How do we deal with it in these venues? And you follow that. What does your good book tell you to do? Because this is another part that we often miss, because we already have, if we're believers, we already have a script that tells us how to deal with particular situations. But yet we go contrary to that, and we keep finding ourselves in these dilemmas where we're at odds with one another when we can fix it ourselves. People are not us. I am not you. You are not me. My beliefs, values, and morals, although they may be very similar in nature, trauma has caused us to deviate. Trauma has caused us to protect. There's so much involved in all of this, and it takes that much time to make a decision that can cost you your freedom, your life, a great marriage, and so on and so forth. It takes that much time. There are people, listen to what I'm saying to you. The average person is not thinking about the things that I'm talking about. The average person is not thinking in the capacity of what I talk about on these shows. You need to understand that. That's why there are so few subscribers. Not just to this show, but to other shows that focus on behavioral change, self-help concepts for the person. Listen, I've been doing this since 2006. Yeah, on YouTube. Since 2006. I think 2005 when I graduated from Lincoln University. My nonprofit Daddy's Right Here was hinged off of my thesis project while at Lincoln University. And I kept going from there. And this is all that I know. I started learning about criminality, the criminal justice population, thinking in errors. I started learning about all these different things, that were part of the toolbox used to shape their behavior. Then I started somewhere along the line learning about my own behavior and recognizing the need to change my own behavior and how I could change my behavior. But you have a lot of people who work in the field who don't even internalize this stuff because they don't even think it's relevant to them. They're trying to change somebody else's behavior. The more I began to improve my own behavior and take a look at the things that I needed to address in my behavior, the more efficient and proficient I became in cognitive, behavioral structure, treatment, therapy, and understanding that everything begins with the thinking. Doesn't begin with your gut, right? There's that instinct. There's something wrong. You get that gut feeling. But it starts here with understanding what is that gut feeling? What is that thing that happens inside of me that causes me to act, to react, to not act, to overreact, right? What is that thing? Why are you acting the way you're acting? You ask a 3-year-old, like, why are you doing that? They don't know what to tell you. I think this, well, so when talking with my 3-year-old, one of the things I do is I ask her questions. I ask her questions. Why? Why? Because I want her to begin to answer. I want her to begin to look at, well, why did I just throw my cereal on the floor? Regardless of the reason. Why did you just throw the cereal on the floor? Like she has this new thing now of hiding food because she wants her snack, because after she eats a meal, she can get a snack. So now the other day she took and what the hell does she have? I gave her something. And she took, what she did was, because she always brings me her bowl or her plate, say, done. So what she did was she scraped the food on the floor under the table. She didn't eat it. She put it like on the floor, and she came and showed me the plate like she ate. So she got a snack. So when I went over there to clean up, like, what is this? And I'm looking like, how did you even think that? You're 3. That's the 3-year-old thing. Well, I'll put my food under here. I go check daddy the plate. And do you understand that? 3. And you know to do that. Imagine yourself. And that was a good idea to do that. We have to teach ideal. You follow what I'm saying? So you have to ask yourself, how much of an idealistic way are you living? And why do we deviate? I can't say you. So let me say you. Why do we deviate from an idealistic way of doing something and do things in an idea way? I can't say idealistic because idealistic is in a word. We create words these days, right? But we're not living things in an idealistic way. We keep living with this pink cloud around us. We keep looking at life through these rose-colored glasses. Why? You have to take the joy and the pain. You have to understand in life there's joy and pain. You have to understand, no matter how much in love you are with the person, that there's going to be some pain in love. And the reason why is because of the expectations. I thought that you were going to always, I thought that you would, and then you went and slept with somebody else. Well, it has nothing to do with loving you. Somebody going outside of the marriage, we're not even going to go into reasons, but somebody going outside of the marriage and having sex with somebody else, that doesn't have anything to do with you. So dude who got all blew up and sticking his chest up because he didn't got with your girl and he thinking some kind of way of you. Well, that's his own act, cowardice acts. You didn't do nothing to me. You didn't take anything from me. She gave you what belongs to her anyway. No person belongs to any other person. That's my wife. Okay. What makes her my wife? Well, we have a contractual agreement. Me, her, and God said, this is how we're going. She agreed to this. I agreed to that. She broke her agreement. Contract over. Ain't nothing difficult here. But dude over here thinking, yeah, I took your woman. Okay, you keep thinking about, you ride on that if you want, but just check your mouth. You better check your thinking first, because you're going to walk into a situation that you don't know the outcome simply because this happened. Right? You don't know the outcome. So you beating on your chest, feeling like you took something from me. So now you want to try me. No, that's no. What you tried was her. That's what you tried. You tried her. That no effect. She can give away what belongs to her. She violated the agreement. That this is what you didn't want to do it. You could have just said, I just don't want to do this anymore. I want to do that. Okay, bye. Sure, you'll be hurt. You'll go lose some feelings about it, but it belongs to her. Belonging is not ownership. And people get that twisted. When we make a decision to be together, we made that decision. You made a conscious decision. This is what you wanted. And instead of you making a conscious decision to come and say you didn't want this, you'd rather play the game. So you lost, right? We belong to one another. We don't own one another. Right? She said that was my name, and I said that was hers, and she decided I want to give it away to somebody else, and he said I wanted to give it away. So, okay, we doing giveaways now. With giveaways come takeaways. Comes loss. Right? Comes gains. You gave that away. We ain't together no more. I gained freedom. Right? It ain't a win-lose situation. In loss, there's a gain. In gain comes loss. But if you don't see life through that lens, if you see life through you want to create a win-lose situation, that's not a good way to live. Because it's not right for you to tell somebody else that they have to lose so you can win. I don't want to win. I want to bring resolve to the situation. But again, it goes back to thinking. It goes back to thinking. It goes back to expectations. You expect for somebody to do this, and this for you, A to E for you, but you're only willing to do A through C for them. Why? Well, because I don't believe that I should, but you believe that I should. Yes, because I believe that that's what I'm deserving of. Well, you don't believe I'm deserving of the same thing? Well, you have to say that's what you want in order for me, because my belief system is that I'm supposed to give A, B, and C, that's my obligation. Well, there's a whole damn alphabet. It's 26 letters in the alphabet. Why wouldn't I get all 26? Why would you just give me A to P? It's other words in my repertoire of thinking, right, that I need those letters for. So I'm supposed to go through life using A through P, but then there's R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. It's all these other letters. Hold on. I hate when TikTok does this whole like show us that you're here thing. You understand what I'm saying? You have to look. You have to think outside of the box. Most of what we endure, especially mental health, right? Spiritual health, physical health, everything is affected, man, by how we think. How we think. The human being will always, always, always fail you. I'd rather trust that you're going to do something wrong in this relationship than trust that you're going to do everything right. Because that's not even realistic. I don't know what it's going to be. But if my thinking is all the way over here, Then I'm gonna put my hand in the fire because I think I can put my hand in the fire, not get burnt or not get as burnt as you, or am I gonna be excuse me, sorry, or am I gonna be all the way on this side and do absolutely nothing? I'm not going to the fire. They're going to have to die. This is what expectations are. It's either black or white. Yeah. And sometimes it's either black or white, racially, in a person's thinking, which is another layer. Excuse me. Which is another layer of our difficulty. Yeah. So we keep putting all these layers on. We have these expectations. We start layering things and layering things and layering things. And you can liken that to the onion concept. Along the way of life, you start peeling that stuff off. And peeling some of that stuff off hurts. You ever see a snake peel? Right? You're not supposed to peel that skin off. You're not supposed to pull it off for them. You're supposed to put something rough and coarse in there where they can rub against, a rock so they can rub against and come off on their own. There may be circumstances where you may have to help them peel some of the stuff like around their eyes or something like that. Because it's just stuck there. It just won't. It's like, yeah, sometimes it just gets stuck there. And they can't get to it So yeah, so it's times when you may have to help. But in most cases, it'll peel. But as a human being, when you don't want to start peeling off them layers because it just hurts you much, sometimes somebody got to come snatch that thing off. Like, stop playing, boy. You're like, oh, I can see now. You sitting there playing with it, right? You're setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up because you don't want to take ownership. You don't want to take responsibility for it. You want to keep crying victim, victim, victim. After a couple of times, you become a volunteer. You know that, right? You're no longer a victim. You're a volunteer. You volunteer to be in that condition. I don't like feeling bad. I don't like being up in my head. I call it the terror dome. Right? But because the only thing that's up there is instinct. Right? Instinct. How you going to respond to your trauma? Trauma goes nowhere. And trauma is individualized. You understand? But it stays here. It lives here. And you rely upon your ego and your superego to balance out the insanity that you can find yourself easily in if you keep having this kind of thinking conflict within yourself. When I see people walking around who are just miserable as hell, when I see people walking around who are just like downright miserable, always attitudinal, right? You being an empathetic person, this is where empathy comes in, because you don't have to be sympathetic, but you have to be empathetic. You have to say to yourself, damn, that must be a terrible existence, man. Wow. You carry that all the time? Every day? You keep that with you? You feel that every day? Yo. When you see him, hey, Harry, how you doing, man? Martin, what's going on? Karen, Harvey, how are you? Liberty, what's going on? So you start seeing life through a different lens. I don't want to carry that. I have enough of my own stuff to bear to carry every day that I have to work through in my own life. I have to keep my own self in balance. I have to keep my own self in check. I have to constantly bring resolve within myself to things that present themselves. You can only work on what presents itself. You don't have to create anything. It's coming. It will come. The resolve is not just for the moment. The resolve is for life. Because if you fix this and you find resolve to this, This is going to happen again. What are you going to do next time it happens? Just take some of the sting off of it. That's all you have to do. Take some of the sting off of it. Finding a solution to the unresolved within our lives does not mean it goes away. It means that we've learned to better manage it. We better manage it. It hasn't gone anywhere, folks. Stop thinking because it doesn't happen now as often that it's not going to happen again. It's going to happen again. How does it impact your psyche now? It shouldn't be as intense. It shouldn't be as intense. And if anyone tells you that it's gone, run. If any clinician ever says to you, that's over with in your life, run. Run fast. Nothing goes away. Trauma always stays. There's no going to get an eraser and taking it out. It's not there anymore. You're going to encounter it differently. You should. The consistency of when you confront this particular behavior as it rises determines how long. See, if you deal with it today, but then it comes from somebody that you don't like, or it comes from somebody that you really feel close to, you got to kind of look at those things. I'm like, me and him, we was like really cool. We holler at each other, go out, play some ball or whatever, some fishing. It's cool. Then he did this. Okay, why? Why did he do this? I think he should have done something different. He denies even doing it. And the more he denies it, the deeper the blade seems to go. And then once it hits the bone, like we just done. But what happened to me in my life that caused me to do this to you? Because hurt people, and we tend to hurt those closest to us. We don't go and hurt somebody who ain't got nothing to do with it. We hurt those who are closer to us. Because they're easy. That's why, don't always put your roller skates on when you're in a relationship and certain things start presenting themselves because you have this expectation. Well, she shouldn't treat me that way because I do A, B, C, D. Right? And you feel like because you do those things that it should be reciprocated in kind. Like I'm real big on how you talk to me because of what I give. Like, so why would you talk to me like I'm some common dude out on the street when all that we do together and what you know about me, why would you give me that? That's an issue for me. That's an issue for me. I don't care if you're my wife, if you're my coworker, if you're my boss, but why would you give that to me? Why would you think it's okay to give that to me? I've never spoken to you in that manner. I've never treated you in that manner. I've never given you the impression that it's okay to address me in that capacity. So why would you think it's okay to address me in that capacity? And I hold that. I'll hold that. Because that's my expectation of other people. And if you do otherwise, I'm going to address it accordingly. And that's what's important. Because that's still an aspect of me that exists, how you talk to me. And sure, a lot of it has to do with how I came up. Always being called light bright, white boy, too thin to win, all kind of stuff like that, right? Carry your books home from school, but the dude that you wind up being attracted to is the one that don't even go to school. Those kind of things like, oh, wait a minute. So it's a lot of things there. I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it. You have to be aware of self. See, the stuff that you want to be unconscious, remain unconscious about, you can choose to do that. You can continue to live, in this conscious state, right? Where you think that you really know you and you don't. You don't. But it's great being superficial because you can continue to blame other people for your continued existence, right? In this condition, you can blame other people. No, I know why I go through this, and I know why I did, and this is how I deal, and this is how I manage it. Because you have to manage that. You have to know that. You listen, and I'll address it every time. But sometimes you have to be silent. Now is not the time to always address it. Now is not the time to address it. You have to choose the moment. And most of the time, I'll tell you, the moment is not now. The moment is not now. When is what you have to figure out. When's the best time for me to have a conversation about what just transpired? Because if you ride on your feelings and you start riding on what you think about that person right now for doing what they did, you go through that whole myriad of these expectations. And they happen just like the fire, just like this. It's like a Lamborghini gas pedal floored. It's going just like that. And the next thing you know, your mouth is open. And it's over. It's over. Yeah, everything is over. She done walked out the door, told you she'll send the moving truck, got the kids by their hand, got your car keys, because you got a bigger car. Whatever, but I'm saying it's over now. You can't take it back. And even if that person takes you back, you have stained, right, this pristine foundation that we've established. You've stained it. Forgetting that all of our pristine little foundations are going to get stained. Yeah. If you have a foundation that doesn't get stained, you ain't in this for real. You're tiptoeing around stuff. You're not talking about things that really bother you. You sucking all that stuff in. All your expectations that went out the window. Right? You got sucked in. And it's okay, because we all get sucked in. You just have to learn how to stop getting sucked in so frequently, because we all get sucked in. We care. We love people. We love love. But you got to love yourself first. You got to start looking at what it is that is putting weight on you. But it's you putting the weight on you. You got to remember that part. You got to remember what is putting weight on you. Right? All these things, these expectations that you have of other people. You walk around your house and, people doing this that you don't like, people doing that you don't like. Your kids doing this that you don't like, and not seeing the power and control that you really have over all of this. You set boundaries. You repeat the boundary. You reinforce the boundary. Can't do it today. Then let it go tomorrow. Right? You need to take that off yourself. Expect to be hurt by this person you love. Don't mean it's intentional. Expect to be hurt. They're going to do something that you're not going to like. Doesn't say anything negative about them. It speaks to their humanity. And we keep forgetting that we're dealing with a human being, not a damn robot. And AI is going to get it wrong too. Just wait till it comes. AI is going to get it wrong. What's going to happen the day that AI gets it wrong? We're happy to have AI. It does this for us. It does that for us. It brings us so much joy, so much immediate gratification. It's got something else to bring. It still has humanity within it, machine or not. It's still driven by humanity. Yeah, keep forgetting that part. Listen, we are at the hour. I got better. Got an hour and a half show today. We're going to get it down to an hour soon. Get it in and get out, right? Got to keep the blood pressure intact. So don't forget to visit us at the Sabir Educational Station on YouTube. Just type Sabir, and you'll be fine. You'll be able to find whatever it is that Sabir does. Aleem for You is a family-owned business. Yeah, we customize merchandise. We are not a T-shirt print company. Not at all. We bring stuff to life, man. You see our merchandise. I always ride on our pixels. Our pixels in our merchandise. See how this is? This is a poster. This is a print of a hand-drawn or a piece of my pen and ink work. Y'all can see it on TikTok and a little more clear. See that? Yeah, that's a pen and ink drawing. It was, I think it's about 23 by 30 something. You can see the detail in it, right? So this is a print from an original piece. But when you get our work, when you get our designs, like it's a piece of artwork. It's artwork. It's not just some print that's slapped onto a shirt, tumbler, pants, dress, whatever. They're works of art. You will not find any merchandise even remotely close to our work. They're all works of art. So make sure you go to aleemforyou.net. Check out our merchandise. Buy. Compare our prices. Compare. Look at the details. Right? You see a pair of boots that you like? Right? Because we also have footwear. You see a pair of boots that you like? Compare. Look at the details. Look at the description. How much does the boot weigh? What are the details that it's showing you? In the leather, the uppers, the rubber. Not to see if it's not some fox fur, fox leather, something like that, but look at it and compare. This is the same exact product. The same product that they're selling at a 100% markup, profit margin, I'll say. 100% profit margin. We're selling ours. Most of what we sell is under 20% profit margin. Yeah, under 20%. People say, well, that's crazy. Why would you do that when you can? The goal is to keep you and your family as customers for the duration of life itself, for every generation. Not just now, forever. We want Aleem for You to be a household name forever. We're creating a stream of income. So this is what we can do. So this is what my children, their children, so to have jobs, you know, that's what this is a matter of. It's not a matter of getting rich, whatever rich is. I don't think if you're rich that there's rich doesn't like stop at million, doesn't stop at billion. If you get there, you want beyond. We just want a funding stream so we can be able to sit home and do this and have our children come into, work to earn money to take care of their college and their hopes, dreams, aspirations, desires. Should be able to do that. It's a family-owned business. When I'm gone, my children, my wife, and so on and so forth, this is for them. It ain't for me long, but, in his time. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, as always, Sabir Aleem. I'll see y'all next Sunday at 10 o'clock. Y'all have a great day. Peace. Hey, Julie Franks, how you doing? Good to see you. Tammy Strawberry, thanks for tuning in. Cherry 123, thank you so much for tuning in. Nilda Santa, thank you for tuning in. SC Creations LLC, Shannon, what's happening? Martin, Karen Harvey, good to see you again, sis. Betty Ann, how are you? Good to see you. Red Scout, thank you for tuning in. Miss Ice, what's happening, Miss Ice? Charles, what's going on? Tommy Jordan, user 759. Nicholas, SOS West, what's happening? Topcom, Christmas, what's going on? User 710, Believing Bell, Carson, Miss GGB, what's going on, cousin? Carson, Donald French, J Rock, what's happening? J Rock, what's going on, cousin? Donald French, 2D, J, user 714, how are you? Joseph Falston, J, Von Burks, Willie Stiles, Wandering Jer, Her, what's happening? Drummond, Supai, Comey, 27, Dr. Ply, Glow. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Hey, listen, again, I'm your host as always, Sabir Aleem. I'll see you next Sunday at 10 o'clock for another episode of Daddy's Right Here Live. Peace.